Amazing. Well, Christian built, I'm so glad he's on because he actually built a sound bed that they're bringing, and you guys are going to get to experience a sound bed that he created that like plays music through your body. It's absolutely amazing. So,
What?
yeah, it's going to be so, so cool. Like one of the neatest experiences I've ever had not on psychedelics. Like my whole body was being played by music. I mean, it's just, I can't even tell you. So I'm so excited. Chris, Christian, do you want to just tell them a little bit about the sound bed?
I don't know what else to say about it besides that. It's just, yeah, it's just a really cool experience that I've had like a lot of awarenesses and just really neat experiences with it because you actually feel the vibration like through your body, not just through your ears. And so it's just a different sensation. It's really neat.
Yeah. And it's so healing for the body to have different like it's since we talk so much about it's just all frequency.
Mhm.
This the healing frequencies of music and playing it and like you literally feel it in all your cells. It's so cool. So, Christian, are you ready or do you want me to keep going with the ladies till are you ready for your three wins?
I'm still thinking about that.
Okay, I'll give you a few more seconds. One thought though, Jolene, I was thinking, I was listening to the Course in Miracles and it was saying how there is no illness when you're in the like you're one with God and illness is just a sign of lacking self-love. And I was like, that's really intense. Like you're telling sick people that it's just because they're not like connected with God or they don't love themselves enough. I don't know, but I did hear in you like how you weren't feeling well and you stepped into a place of self-love, which was really cool. Like I just want to honor you in that and something to just experiment with, if you feel sick, like what is that? What kind of self-love can you show up with and what's the invitation there? So, Jolene, I love that you just went and got a massage. Like that's really beautiful. Okay, Amanda, you're up next.
I love that what you just said about illness being a sign of self love because probably a couple years back I'd have been like taking that as an attack, for sure. But as I'm sitting here thinking about it, I went from having suffering monthly with these migraines that I had, to like literally once a month, and it was like a week out of the month. It was so bad. To so far next month it'll be once a year. I've had a migraine, just one, not even like a group of migraines. And I just like rewind back to the first time I talked with it or about it with Helen, and she's like, "Well, what happens to your body when you get a migraine?" I'm like, "Well, I can't see, my arms go numb, I'm basically debilitated." And still having to like function at the same time. It's like torture. So anyway, she's like, "Well, what can't you just like take a break then and not do all that suffering?" I'm like, well, that sounds great. Let me just try that. Like
Yeah.
listen to your body.
Isn't it interesting that like even through the migraines, you weren't pausing enough to like care about yourself like you would for a child or a friend? You're like no compassion for yourself, even in the migraines, and you're pushing through. So, yeah, it's a great example of that. Thanks for
Yeah,
sharing.
so beautiful. So I think, yeah, my wins this week, I feel really good. I feel like I've been really present and just trying to enjoy the moment with all the chaos, because there's just I feel like I'm trying to move away from allowing all the physical aspects of like having a house to bother me like internally, and just like be present with my kids, because somebody said something a while back and it was like, well, you're not going to remember a clean house when your kids are grown. You're going to remember the moments you spent with them and the memories. So I'm trying really hard to like not allow that to affect me. And I just keep hearing, I don't know if it's like a advertisement to a movie or something, but I just keep hearing this thing, and it's like life will never be as it is now. And that's just been ringing around in my head, and in a positive way, like it's making me like pause and look around and be like, oh, what do I enjoy right now? What do I love right now? And just like drop into that gratitude. Like what in 2 years am I gonna look back and be like, oh, that was so great? And let me just like, marinate in that for a minute. So my sister moved in a couple this weekend, which is great because I've been out here alone with the girls for a year this last week. So that's super wonderful. And we've just been laughing so much and enjoying the kids. And I've just like receiving so much like validation and how just amazing my children are instead of focusing on what they're lacking. And that's been super, just super eye-opening to me because it's somehow easier, especially with like a sister around, where you be able to like appreciate all the weird quirks that our kids have and the weird things that they do, and oh, this is gonna be so funny in 5 years or whatever it is, you know. So we've just been laughing until our cheeks hurt and stuff, and that's been super amazing. And then I think my third one is, I don't know if that was two, but whatever, my next one is that I'm noticing that not being attached to the outcome just really opens your arms up to receive. And in looking at it that way, it's just making it much more easier. And I've just really seen truth in that through like just examples pop up throughout the last several months, but really recently, because through my surgery, I felt like I had done the least amount of work since I started working during that time, and I'm on salary, so it's kind of like I felt very like some sort of way about it. And then they all called me and they're like, oh, by the way, you're getting like a new program and a raise and a car. So here you go. And I'm like over here feeling like I'm not doing enough, and then realizing like, no, this is okay. Like sometimes I slack a little bit, but other times like I just am way above and beyond. So
That's incredible. Well, congratulations. And I love this idea of, you said that you were thinking in 2 years from now, would I be regret not doing this, or would I be glad that I did this? And something Gerald said at Burning Man is like, congratulations, past self, for getting me here, you know? But like Brooke was saying, her daughter was really not resistant to doing the dance. And then she just was like, you know what? I'm realizing in 5 or 10 years from now, I'll look back and go like, that was super lame. I didn't do that dance, you know? But I love this concept of just setting ourselves up for like being proud of how we showed up, right? It's another way of saying the same thing I've been saying, but like, how do we play the game so we're proud of how we showed up? And that's a really powerful example of that. So yeah, you're like learning these things and then exercising and practicing and experimenting on it. And I just love it so much. And like the concept of learning how to be open and receive more is so powerful. Like keep playing with that, because that's the magic sauce right there. So that's so great. Way to go. Okay, Laura.
Hi.
Hello,
Can you hear
you
me?
look amazing. Look at you.
Oh, thanks.
All tanned. Your hair looks great.
Well, just wait. You get to see me in a few days. We'll see if
I
I
know.
still look good.
Great.
I'm sitting in a parking garage. Maybe it's got some good lighting. I don't know. Um, I'm so excited. Leaving tomorrow. So excited to come back to Utah. I've been telling people what I'm doing, and they're like, "What? Hypno? What? So you've been hypnotized?" I'm like, "Oh, um, my wins. I was just sitting here like writing things down, and I was like, oh, I feel really good. I have just been like on a streak of like getting things done at home. Like I've been able to organize and put things away more than I have lately for some odd reason. So I'm feeling really good about that. I don't know when I'm in a time crunch like I am this month. I'm just traveling a lot, that I just like get more done. I think that's like my ADHD procrastinator brain. Um, and uh, we've had gorgeous weather. I think it's a lot like it is there, where it's been like really, really hot in Utah, and then it just like cooled off. And so we have the same thing. It feels like fall all of a sudden, and it just like breathes new life into me. And Saturday, we just spent the whole morning outside, and I was like weeding this mulch bed that has looked horrible all summer long. And like Everly was just playing, and I was like, she's probably getting bored, but that's good. She needs to learn how to get bored. And I got so much of it done, and I was sore afterwards, and I felt so accomplished. And so anyway, it's just the little things, right? Um, And then this morning, I got to go volunteer at an organization here called Thistle Farms, and they take women out of trafficking, domestic violence, different situations, even incarceration, and they have a residential program. They also give them jobs. They create like bath and beauty products, and they have a shop and a restaurant. And I've loved the restaurant for years and their products, and I got to go volunteer with them this morning. So that felt good, just to give back um, in a little way. So anyway. And Amanda, I love how you said life will never be as it is now. Thank you for sharing that. Because I have a 2.5-year-old, and sometimes it's really crazy and really difficult, but it's also like really sweet and special. So thank you.
Amazing. Thank you. I think that's so beautiful. I was just on that note, last night I went up to a Special Olympics dinner, and it was a graduation for them in this little program, but it was like so amazing to be around those people that are just like so beautiful and happy, and they're just happy. And it was really a cool thing to experience. Like, I don't know, I've just had such limited exposure to people with like severe special needs, but just seeing ways to like that people are giving back to them and involved with them, and I don't know, doing really beautiful things in the world with all sorts of different energies and frequencies. And that was a really beautiful frequency to be in. It reminded me of that, and the opportunities to serve. So awesome. Okay, Christian, you're up.
Okay. So we got a dog.
Yay!
It was really stressing me out because the last two animals that we got were other people's idea, and then I ended up being responsible for it. And so I was kind of worried about that. But my daughter's actually taken like a really good initiative and like actually taking care of the dog. And it hasn't like had accidents in our house or anything. So like that's a huge win for me that she's actually being responsible and taking care of the dog. So, and I actually really like the dog. It's really, really great for our family. So that's a big one.
Huge win.
And this last weekend was a huge win. My partner Buffy has also had like a lot of health issues with some reactions to like mold and some stuff that has happened at our home. It's made it challenging for her to like be around like a lot of our stuff. And so we went camping this weekend, and she was able to go and not have like a lot of reactions. Like our whole family is together. Paige actually came up and went kayaking with us, and that was a huge win for all of us to be just together in one spot finally, because she's kind of been all over the place trying to find a safe home or a safe place to live. And it's a long story, but anyway, last weekend was a huge win for us. And then just making headway on like working on my career and just setting up appointments with a couple of people to meet with to talk about just next steps in my life. And so just having that moving forward has been a win. So yeah.
Those are huge wins. I'm glad I gave you so much time to prepare for that. That was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But big wins and really
Surviving Burning Man was actually a big win too.
yeah,
Actually getting there and getting home was huge.
insane.
Yeah.
The amount of work
Crazy.
to get there, but yeah. What was your favorite thing about Burning Man? These guys haven't burned yet.
For me personally, like since I like to build things, my favorite part was just all of the artwork that's there, and just like the huge amount of work that it is to build those things, but also get them out into the middle of nowhere and like displayed. It was just mind blowing to see all of the stuff. The creativity of humans is just wild.
Yeah, the resourcefulness, the creativity.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's just like it's not to make money. It's just to give back to people and just to present their art to the world. Like, it's just really cool.
Yeah. We were talking about Christian putting up a art piece next year. So cool.
Yeah, I would love to.
Beautiful.
That's
Awesome.
why I would want to go to Burning Man, just to the well put, like seeing the creativity of humans.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, you could ride around all week and not see everything that's been created by humans out there.
Mm.
It's hard to put words to how massive it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've also got to see the Fallas in Valencia, Spain. Then they're in March. Look it up because that's something like that where it's
Really.
just like, what? How? What? Blows my mind.
And then they
Yeah.
kind of burn it all down, right?
Yeah, they burn it the last day at midnight. They put fireworks to it, and over 300 statues, 6 stories high, burned to the ground. And by 8 o'clock in the morning, it's cleaned up like
Wow,
it never happened. Hmm.
Isn't that amazing?
amazing.
That's the incredible thing about the burn too, is like the playa is left like no one was ever there except footprints. Like everyone walks around in a lineup and like gets the tiniest sparkle or feather off the playa. Like it's complete. So it's leave no trace. It's really good. Really cool.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Today I wanted you guys to break off uh into rooms because I want you to share what you've been doing with the what, why, how, and just kind of go through one of them together. And I want you to look at the rules of engagement. So before we go through, I'm going to go through on page 26 of the workbook, and Christian, I'll just like you'll be able to follow along. But in the what, why, how is basically the formula for clarity. And you ask when you're trying to get clarity on something, you just ask the first question is, what do I want? Right? And so if you just go through your mind and go, okay, what do I want? I want to like figure out what I'm doing with my career, let's say. And then you say, why do I want that? And then you go through, because of this, that, the other, I want this, I haven't had that, whatever it is. But getting to your why brings it into the emotional realm. And then you go into the how, and that's just the to do. It's like, I'm going to call this person, and then I'm going to write this down, and I'm going to, fill out this form, and I'm going to send it in, right? Whatever it is, but you have a to do list with the how. And then the last question is, how do I know I'm successful, right? So this is the one thing that we usually don't do in the formula because it's just like not taught, but it's so fundamental. Because any brain studies, anything you learn or read about creation, it's about beginning with the end in mind, right? And so if we can go and actually see what we're creating and see ourselves and feel like I'm gonna feel so proud of myself. I'm gonna feel invigorated. I'm gonna be excited about the job that I have. I'm gonna be walking into that um that opportunity and just feel like full of gratitude. So the how I know I'm successful is really important. So that's the last step. But we're doing this every day this month, and we're going through this process. But the 5 rules of engagement are sometimes overlooked. And I notice that I often am doing my what, why, how, and then I'll be like, that's none of my business. Like I actually say NYB, not your business, because I like can go through my sheet and kind of see. But one of the rules is stay in your business. You can't say, what do I want? I want my partner to change. What do I want? I want my children to always obey me and be grateful. Like that's out of my business, so it's not part of this formula. You can't use it. It doesn't work. So we have to really be clear on even in the how. Well, how am I going to do this? Well, I'm going to like George is going to do this, and Sally's going to do that, and Paula has to make sure to do this, or else it won't work. Well, then you're just screwed. You have to stay in your business. The other formula part of the rule of engagement is that you have to seek new information, and that all that you know has brought you to this place, but only with new information can you create something new. right? And so what are some places or some ways that we can find that new information? Where do we seek new information? Because it's like the idea, ask crappy questions, get crappy answers. Like find find bad information and get bad results. So like where do we find this new information that's part of the formula for creation? Brooke.
Books are a great way to find new information, asking quality questions, asking friends and loved ones quality questions, or coaches.
Yeah, experts, mentors, people that you trust, people that actually have the results that you want, right? Like that's great. And asking quality questions, right? Going forward and when you're getting clear on the how, it's like, oh, go and ask Dave this question, right? And what's a better question to ask than that even? Or what's the end result that I want? Okay, I'm gonna ask that question, but asking really great questions. I love how you said books because I read this, I can't remember what I was uh probably a podcast that said this, but he was saying the most valuable use of your time is actually reading books. It's not so much podcasts, it's not so much even classes, because in a book, it's like every hour of reading is like average 30 to 60 hours of research, editing, publication, effort, learning. It's years and years, actually an entire lifetime of someone's efforts, and it's put into one very concise um, projection of their knowledge and wisdom. And so it was a really good thing for me to kind of like learn, you know? There's so many different sources of new information, but probably the very best ones are the books. There's lots of research papers that you could read, but a book will have the the core part of the research paper and layman terms of explanations, right? So an awesome source for new information. Any other thoughts on getting new information?
I just the concept of the quality of your life is based on the quality of your questions never occurred to me until later in life, and I that's literally been life changing for me, because it's kind of like you get to, like, you hit a wall with something and you're like, well, I don't know, it's just like the bridge to the next to the next area for me, and I never really understood that concept until later in life. So I'm trying really hard to teach my children that, but I just think that's just the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Once I learned it, I think I've said it like 10,000 times because it was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. Like, especially because in my head, I would say things like, oh, why did you do that? That's so dumb. Right? Or like, oh, why did you do that? Why are you so stupid? Why do you keep making mistakes? And ask shitty questions, get shitty answers, right? And I was just, my whole mind was full of really crappy answers until I learned this concept of just asking myself powerful questions. Why am I so successful in my business right now? Why am I such a good friend? And why am I like, why do my kids feel so close to me? Oh, well, and if I actually pause and let my conscious mind find the answers to those, it's such a beautiful experience, you know, to just sit in meditation with one question and sit there for 30 minutes. Just keep asking the question that you're looking for the best answers for. And so, anyway, thanks for bringing that up. Super cool. So, gaining clarity. That's the next step, although this is the formula for clarity, but there are other ways of gaining clarity. Are there any other things that come to mind when you think, if this is the rule of engagement and I'm going through the what, why, how, but like what clarity could I gain to be able to answer these questions more powerfully or with more wisdom?
Meditation helps me with clarity. This not trying to seek out, like, okay, I've got to figure out this problem, but more like opening my mind. Meditation does that for me.
I love that. Getting still, right? So, like I said, my friend, Gerald's brother Clint Rogers does the ancient secrets, but he talks about the mudras a lot and the different acupuncture points. But he says if you just squeeze your right finger, the top finger, and you squeeze it 6 times and then take a deep breath and ask yourself, what do I want? It brings in the clear answer rather than, oh, well, my dad wants me to be this and my mom wants me to be that, and my partner is saying that I'm not good at this, so I probably want that, right? And so if you're doing the what, why, how, and your what is way off from what your soul is calling for, then you're not in clarity, and you can go through the whole process and end up with a result that you don't want, right? So being really clear and tuning in to self, then it can be really, really powerful. So getting still. Go ahead.
What is it about the finger thing? Like, what is there some sort of nerve here? Like, why is that effective?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, you know how there are chakras that are basically energy centers in the body? Well, there's actually thousands of them, and acupuncture is one thing that like will hit those points. And let's say you put some like a needle in here, somehow it like affects the left ventricle of the heart, right? But it's because energetically we're connected through these sin lines, and the sin lines connect to different, they're kind of like these running lines that go throughout the body. It's thousands of years old. It's both in Indian and Chinese culture, but that's what the tapping is. We're hitting on these pressure points, but what happens is there's certain points that basically blood pools, and the blood pools and energy gets stuck. And so when you tap on it, it kind of releases the energy and it lets the lines of energy kind of flow with more ease. With this, it's activating that center that goes to the pineal gland that is basically the God source or the core part of our third eye, which activates the brain in a way that kind of helps you to get that clarity. That's what I understand about it, but I'm not like an expert on it. It's just from me playing around with these sin lines and energy lines, and like the yoga Thai massage that I do, we're hitting on a lot of these acupuncture points. Yoga, that's tons. You're hitting on all of these different meridian lines and sin lines and pressure points, and it just activates and heals the body, activates the body, or calms the body. Great question. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that was an amazing explanation, actually. Because I've been, sorry, Jolene, I realize you have a question, but I've been getting stuck on the what, why, how, like I mentioned last week. And there's so many variations of my day and what do I want? And then there's this aspect and there's that, and then there's this, and then I get busy and I have to go do something else. And I'm like, I keep getting myself in this like cycle of like, okay, let me figure it out, and then pushing it beside. But I feel like maybe that's one thing that could possibly help accelerate that. I don't know.
Yeah, and like I'll tell you, on Sunday I was doing mine and I was like, I have 3. So I literally just used 3 pages. I was like, I want to get back to perfect health. I want to put on an epic retreat for all of you. And I want to connect and tune in with my kids, right? And so I had these 3. I just made 3 what, why, how, hows, and it took me 2 days to do it. Like I kind of I did filled out a full one, and then I went over and started the next one, and I got halfway, and I never got to the how, and then I went to right. So it's like that's sometimes how life is. I got kind of sidetracked in the middle of it, and then I came back to it. But does that help? Like,
It does help. However, I think that this is kind of something that I definitely would benefit from working on just in general in my life. That's what I'll do is I'll get over here and I'll be busy, busy, work, work, and then forget, and then just like hop, hop, hop and do all kinds of everything, but never really finish anything. And I don't want to do that anymore.
yeah. Yeah. So often it has to do with getting up early enough, or doing it like it's just having like a solid block of time and turning everything else off. But
Well, and Paige, isn't this also just exactly what this practice is practicing? Is the beginning to the end of like, what do you want? No, really, what do you want? Okay, try it again. What do you want? Or, oh, I hashed it out this way. Now I'm going to try it that way. Like, I have 6 different areas that I want stuff in. I've figured out, like, but it's taken me days and sheets to sort of distill it down. And then sometimes I'm like, I don't know, where do I start? Like, totally overwhelming. And then other days it's like super clear and I write out 6 pages of what I want. So we're practicing like, what? I get to choose? Like, I get to say what I want? Like, that's a whole part too, right? Like, who's asking? Oh, well, if I did, I would have a ton of things, answers. And so, um, really getting clear, but this is all the creation process. It's just like playing with it. It's nothing, I mean, nothing's set in stone. You can always change it or do something different too. But it's sort of like, oh, well, if I could have it all my way, oh, if I could play with this, oh my gosh, if I could imagine something, what would that feel like and look like? Yeah, maybe I want to go for that, right? So it's just, you can play. I've tried to play more with it because at the beginning it felt really daunting. And then this is just paper. These are words on paper, which is actually really powerful. But we're all only powerful when we have clarity of what we want and how we're going to get there. So that's what we're practicing. Anyway.
I love the energy that you're saying it in, because it's not coming from a place of, I want this because I need it. It's, I want this because I want to create it, because I am a creator, because it's possible, because I see the vision of it. And so it is possible for me.
And
Right?
therefore exciting. Like, it
Yeah.
feels really exciting when you hit on it. It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, woo! I want that.
Yeah. And sometimes I've written things out and just like, I've been like, okay, that's what I want. But like, huh? And I could just go through my whole day saying I want that. But once I get into like why and then the how, it's like, oh, this is happening no matter what. Like, it's just not even a question of whether this is going to happen, because now it's integrated. Like, I see the vision of how it's going to end, and I know how I'm going to do it. And it just happens like that. So yeah, play with it. And it's totally fine that you've had some resistance to it, and energetically it's been difficult, and you've been stopped in between, because that is part of the process of learning. You're just learning energetically, right? You're noticing, oh, I have a resistance to this. Oh, where else is that showing up? Resistance to doing what would benefit me, or doing things that take care of me, or doing my routine, or doing things that like set me up for success. How often am I putting that away, or where else do I have resistance there? And so it's all part of the game in the process, right? If you go in and you stop halfway through, well, where else is that happening? What's the gift and invitation in that? How often do you start something and then stop it? Okay, so what if you just started this and went all the way through tomorrow? And how could that show up more consistently in your life in all those other areas? We're just playing energetically, right? Yeah, great question. Jolene, did you have something you were going to ask or say? Oh, hold on. I pressed mute while you pressed the unmute.
The one thing that comes to mind right there with the gaining clarity has really been for me is trusting, and trusting in myself, trusting that kind of like you said, Amanda, I mean, your mind's going 100 different ways, but it's trusting in being guided by that, being guided by the trust of just internal, that reconnection and in internal trusting. That's been huge for me, is because the trust is, you know, goes away with the lack of self-love, goes away with all of those things. And anyway, that's all I wanted to share, just in that.
Yeah, and I'm really gonna challenge you to squeeze this finger 6 times, take deep breath, and like start tuning into that internal wisdom that's within you that you don't have to doubt, right? So there's a part of you that's like, oh, I don't know, and is this really what I want? But if you get like centered in some deep breaths and then just like physically tune into yourself and say, what do I want today? What's the first thing that comes to mind? And trust that and play with that this week. And Laura.
This happened to me, I think, the very first time I learned about this with you guys, and Helen is like, I get these like huge overarching ideas, and then I start working on it, and I realize that like the how I'll know I'm successful is actually what I want. Like I'm getting them all mixed up. So I think it's like what Brooke was saying. It's like you have to keep refining it and keep refining it. And so I get stuck because I'm a perfectionist and it's not right at the beginning. And so I'm like, oh, I'm not doing this right. And so I think I need help taking this and like turning it into an actual what, why, how, like really drilling down. Because I'll say like my goals, and the goals will be like huge things. Like how I'm gonna get there is like too big.
Okay, so this is what I'm going to go over the next 2 things, and I'm actually going to keep you and Christian with me in the main room, and then I'm going to have the others go in because I want you guys to go through your what, why, how. Brooke, you're going to be in charge of just like, just if you see something, you've done this enough times that you can kind of point out, okay, just this is the 5 millimeter shift. But we're going to have you read out your what, why, hows, and and we're going to have you guys jump into that because it's total, like, Laura, been there, right? Like you're like, am I doing this right? And then Helen would ask me, what's your what, why, how? And I would go through it. She's like, whoa, like you totally didn't expect chaos before new order, or you're like way out of your business, or you're that's your how you know you're successful. What's your what, right? So it's a simple process, but there are these little shifts that we can make to just have it be more powerful and to be more clear. So I'll definitely like we'll shift that, but it is it's good. So the other 2 things. So seek new information is the first rule of engagement. The second is gain clarity. The third is stay in your own business, right? Don't go into other people's business. Fourth is take action. And this is one thing we can do our what, why, how, and then completely forget about it and not do any of the hows and expect the result, right? Like you have to actually, like, in my how is my big boxes for the day. Like it's my check boxes of what I'm actually going to do. I have to take the action to be able to create the life that I desire and to get what I want. So you have to take the action. Sometimes it's really big action. Sometimes it's just a consistent daily action that takes 20 seconds, right? But it has to be some sort of action. And then the 5th one is expect chaos before new order. And I love this. This is another one, Amanda, where you're like, this changed my life. Like, if we can just expect chaos before there's new order, it's going to be like so beautiful. I was talking to a friend who's like in total chaos in his marriage right now. But I'm like, look, just expect it. You're up leveling your entire relationship, right? Like you guys are stepping into being kings and queens and like having incredible like creation in the world of like literally building like one of the top 1% on the planet could ever even experience is what they're creating. And so there's some chaos right now. And if you expect it, then it's not so bad, right? It's if I freak out when I'm cooking that the kitchen is, you guys, I'm cooking like massive amounts of bliss balls and and granola and all the things for you guys, right? My kitchen is a wreck. And if I was all bent out of shape because my kitchen is a wreck and that my kids are all making their food and I'm making their dinners, like it's chaos. But if I got out of shape about it, then I couldn't create so as much as I can create. And so I just go, yeah, we're in chaos right now. And there's going to be new order. And when you guys arrive, the house is going to be like cleaner than it's been in a month. And it's going to look so good. And I'm so excited, right? Right now, it is not presentable. I'll just tell you that. There's chaos for new order. All the beds are torn up. So we have new sheets on them, right? Like the house gets like that before it's put into back in new order. But that's energetically what happens as well. That's emotionally what happens. Have you ever been in total emotional chaos? It's an up-leveling process. Look at birth, like bloody crazy mess. And then all of a sudden there's a baby that comes out. Like it's amazing how this shows up everywhere. But when you expect it, then you're not so upset when it happens, right? So expect chaos before new order. That's the final one. Any questions about the chaos before new order or any comments before we hop into the rooms? Okay, so
I just have a burning desire.
I love
Well, I could talk about chaos before new order for days. But what I was thinking was I heard something a while back that really changed the way I look at things, and it was like you don't decide your goals. And I'm like, what? I decide goals all the time. What are you trying to tell me here? And I kind of got like offended by it, and then like going deeper into it, it was like you decide your habits, and your habits determine the outcome of the situation. And that shift in like focus has really just helped like everything, because I was getting frustrated with myself, like, oh, I'm creating these goals or making these goals and then not achieving them. And then once I started like looking at, oh no, I'm not like focusing on my habits, like the how, and it's just not happening like you were saying. So anyways, I just thought that was really beautiful.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because the formula for success, this is the formula for clarity, right? But the formula for success is, all of you guys know it, it's clarity, the clarity, belief, consistency, and action, right? And so we're really focusing in on the clarity, but if you don't believe that it's possible, like we set goals and we're like, yeah, but I don't think I'm gonna actually accomplish them. Like it's not gonna work. But what they're saying is basically the consistency, right? That's the formula that most people are missing, is the consistency, the habits. And if you don't have the habits, but sometimes we can have success with like some massive action that's really bold and courageous. And we still have to show up every day. There has to be some consistency. There has to be a belief. There takes massive belief in order to take that like bold, courageous action. But we have to be clear on what we're even creating in order to be successful at anything, right? So all of this goes hand in hand, and I'm just like, it's a review, but the habit, the consistency is a key part. It's one of the four, right? So we have to.
Can I just add?
Go,
Can I just add to the habit conversation? I was beating myself up that I wasn't attaining my goals as well, and then I read the book Atomic Habits, and he breaks it down so well. It's such a good book for knowing how to set yourself up to attain habits and succeed at them. And that really changed like how effective I was at creating the habits so that I can attain my goals. So just a plug for that book.
Yeah. And I know for me, and anyone that struggles with like ADHD or ADD or any sort of like, or being a parent or whatever, it's like the world that we live in has a cell phone. The consistency is a huge part of the formula that most of us miss and then go, what? I didn't achieve my goal. I'm not successful, right? It's actually just this one aspect. So if that is something that you're struggling with, Atomic Habits is amazing. It gives you formulas, it gives you structure, it gives you ideas, and you can kind of figure out the system that works for you. But that, like, a lot of it is, oh my gosh, I really want to write in this every day. But like creating that habit is hard. Atomic Habits is an awesome, awesome book. So thanks, Brooke, for bringing that up. And there are things like habit stacking. Like, I'll just touch on this really quick. Jolene was saying how, if I can call you out, Jolene, but she was saying, I really want to write in my book, and I was like, do you have clarity in why you want that? Like, is it really something that's important to you right now? Because it's okay if it's not, right? But she's like, no, it really is important to me. And so I'm like, okay, well, what is something that you do every day? Well, she has a dog. Like, there's no way that she's not going to put her dog outside in the morning. And so if she puts her dog outside and then immediately goes in and starts writing in her journal, in her book, and writes out her what, why, how, then there's like that's something that's linking it to it. So it's stacking onto something that she's already, no matter what, gonna do, right? So just an example of that. And how's that working for you, Jolene? Sideways. She's working on it. It's better than this. So we're on a little bit chaos before new order, but there's a new order coming. So that's exciting. Okay, awesome. I'm gonna open the rooms. Christian and Laura, you guys are gonna stay in with me. So it'll say like go into room 1, don't worry about it. And then Amanda, Brooke, and Jolene, you guys are gonna go into a room and you're going to just share one of your what, why, hows that you want to share. And Laura and Jolene go first, and then Brooke, you'll just listen and see how they're doing with the 5 rules. Yeah? Okay. And we'll be back in 10 minutes. Okay. So, is this making sense, Christian? How's it going?
Yeah, this is actually really helpful.
Okay.
I do have questions. Like, so is this an activity you do every day?
Yeah, so usually you do it for some big event that you're doing or some big goal you have. But in this mastermind, we're doing it so it's like so integrated into our psyche that we can do it like that for anything, right?
Okay, got it,
That's
yeah.
the purpose of the mastermind. But like, this is people that have been coming to our retreats or have coached with me, they know the process and they've done it for years. It's just they haven't done it on a daily basis. So it's just second nature of like, what do I want? Why do I want that? Okay, okay. And then they're right there in creation mode really fast.
Got it.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Well, Laura, how about you give us an example of your what, why, how, and I'll see if there are any kind of 5 millimeter shifts. Go ahead and get on.
I'll give you a good example of why it's all over the place. Should I just do it the way it's written, even
Just
though I know it's
read
not right? Okay.
Yeah, just read
So
it.
what do you want is to make a conscientious effort to treat my business as a business that works for me. And why do I want that? To live in peace, knowing that what I'm doing is enough.
Okay.
How? One is finalizing a budget to determine what my income needs are. Because if I don't know how much money I need, then I don't know how much money I have to make. And then creating a business plan that meets those needs, those income needs. And then beyond that, this is where it gets like really hairy. Then it's like, oh, well, I kind of need like a life plan if I have a business plan that also creates a space for that business. And then I get really hairy when I go to the how you know you're successful. Well, no, I guess not, but I will feel at peace knowing that like what comes will come and I won't have the anxiety surrounding my business.
Okay.
But I feel like it's almost back, like some of the howls are like, I don't know, like
Yeah.
it's backwards.
Okay. So, what you want is actually you read your what again, because it actually, your what is actually a how. Go ahead, read it.
Yeah. Read the what? To make a conscientious effort to treat my business as a business that works for me.
Yeah. So what you want is to have a business that works for you. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what does it look like for you to have a business that works for you?
What does it feel like, or what is
What
it?
does it look like? Like, what does a business that works for you look like?
I need to make that plan.
You? Because I think, take a deep breath.
Right?
Squeeze your finger, right finger, 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And see your business the way it's working, so it's working for you. What does your time look like? What does your income look like? What does a business that looks like it's not even how much money you need. It's what does your soul call for? How much money do you want?
Well, you've asked me this question in various forms, and I always just randomly make up a number, but I don't, because I don't know. I don't
Okay,
know.
so take a deep breath. Because intuitively, you know. What number is it?
Well, I feel like I don't know, because like I feel like the money that I make is currently enough.
So what if it was enough? What if what you
Yeah.
make is the perfect amount for you?
Yeah.
And what needs to shift for it to feel like it's perfect? Is it the time? Is it just simply the anxiety that you hold around it that you could let go? So maybe what you want is to have an anxiety-free business still making the amount that you make right now.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So what you want is to be anxiety-free around your business.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I want
I'm
is,
writing it down.
yeah, anxiety-free, right? Around money in my business, right?
Hmm.
And if you were able to make the same amount that you're making, but be anxiety-free and feel good about how you're running your business. Oh, she dropped. What did you get from that, Christian?
Well, I was just actually just thinking about like our last session, and I came up with a number of like 5,000 per month. But also thinking about like, okay, what did the past business look like for me and Buffy, and what would I have wanted it to look like to work for me rather than me working so much in the business, not on the business. And I think that like you can look at it a couple different ways. Like you could say like, I want my business to give back to me 10x what I put into it as far as my time goes, right? So I could say, well, if I'm putting in, you could look at it like an hourly rate, right? So if I'm putting in 15 to 20 hours per week into my business, and so I don't know what she's making right now, but say it's, $10,000 a month or $20,000 a month, and you can say, okay, that looks like X amount per hour, but I want it to be this much per hour. And so that kind of gives you a range of like what you want to make hourly as far as like what your time is into that business, right?
Yeah.
It's that shift. It's a shift of like the business, like you working for the business and working in the business rather than that thing like working for you. So I
Mhm.
look at, my friend Jeff's business, right? Like he does the fragrance thing,
Yeah.
and he doesn't put in a ton of time into that, but it gives him X amount of money that translate to him as freedom. Now
Hmm.
I get to go to Burning Man. Now I get to go to EDC. I get to go to these festivals that I want. This is what I want to do. This is what I want out of my business. This is what my business I want it to provide for me. So
Yeah.
that's a different way of kind of looking at things.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, so watch, because this process actually brings her to that. So I love that you brought that up. Okay. So Laura, you want to feel anxiety free around your business, right?
Mhm.
And why do you want that?
Um,
You can look at why don't you want to feel anxiety, or what does an anxiety filled business give you?
uh, doubt, and I feel a lot of my time with the anxiety, so I would have more time if I wasn't anxious.
Yeah. So, more time. What's the opposite of doubt?
Um, confidence.
Yeah, confidence. You said peace before,
Hmm.
right? Feeling enough. And if you
Yeah.
could have peace and feel enough and have confidence and have more time, what would that give you?
Um, Probably a
It's
lot of things. Uh, Joy, and I think it would just allow me to enjoy the things that I want to enjoy. Like,
just,
oh, it's time for me to check into my flight, guys, and I got to do it, or I'm not going to get a A or a B. Hold that thought.
go for it.
Keep talking.
So
I can do it.
love about that is like when you look at your why and then you keep going down through your why, like eventually you get to the like really big why, which is the joy. Like the whole thing is that you just want to feel more joy. So that all that to say is you've got this why enough, like you want to have a life where you're joyful and feel at peace and you're confident, you're feeling good. So then the next thing is the how, right? How do you let go of anxiety around your business, of constantly like feeling anxious about it, and like how could you let that go?
I need help with this, I think. Um, I think that one of the ways is, but maybe it's too complicated. It's just like having a clear understanding of, my budget and my finances, so I
Yeah.
don't have to just wonder if it's enough.
Yeah, so your to-do list had that. You're it just getting clear on what you're going for is actually an anxiety-free business. It's not that. But filing your business, that finalizing your budget, that's going to be something that gives you a little bit more peace, a little bit more resolution. Delegating certain things, like giving yourself more time in certain places, right? Looking
Mhm.
at how you can not have so much on your plate, and like hiring some things out may be a certain way to
I think
to
social media, hiring that out, the social media part of it, because I think a lot of the anxiety comes from what I'm not doing with social media. So if I
great.
can hire someone to tell me what to do, and then, or them do it, then
Yeah, noticing what is causing anxiety. Oh, it's social media. Okay, I'll let someone else do that.
yeah,
Awesome, right? Yeah, what else is causing the anxiety?
watching what people are doing on social media and not doing it. So just
See?
maybe not watching it. Yeah, getting off of social
Amazing.
media.
Yeah, get off social media.
But I don't know. It's such a struggle because there's so much of it that's good with my business. I learn a lot. I see a lot of things that's good, but then it's like, how do I whittle it down?
So maybe you just do things that light you up and feel good on social media and you delegate all the rest. But as
Hmm.
soon as you start to notice that there's a certain level of anxiety, that's what you're a no to, right?
Hmm.
Be really clear. When there's something that's causing anxiety about my business, I'm going to look for ways to delegate that or not do it. Because what I'm committed to doing is running my business without anxiety, right? So
Hmm.
as you get through all that and you figure, and this is just a process of like, oh, that caused anxiety. Okay, what do I do to delegate that? Well, then the next step is how will you know you're successful? And I want you to just take a deep breath and close your eyes and see yourself like 3 months from now with a business where you have zero anxiety, it's just joyful. You have peace as you're working on your business, as you feel total confidence as you close the next deal. You have a sense of freedom in your time. And as you see what that looks like, what it feels like, how will you know you're successful in that moment? From writing this all out and going, oh my gosh, I did it. What does it look like?
Um,
Or what does it feel like?
I think some of it feels like doing more of what makes me happy. Um, Having more time to focus on myself and that.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah,
as you're doing more of what makes you happy, what's one of the things that just like really makes you happy?
um, I'm supposed to say like, spending time with Everly, right?
No.
Yeah, I think just not having anything on my agenda, just having a free day and just getting to wander. Yeah.
Cool. So just imagine yourself, and each day, just imagining yourself like having a full day to just wander and having no stress around it because everything's taken care of and your business is running and things are good, but you've set this time aside just for you to be able to just wander, do whatever you want, putter, explore, treat yourself, whatever it is, and just feeling that freedom and that openness and knowing like in that moment, you're going to look back and go like, I did it. Like I did this, right? So
Mhm.
it's the feeling and being like, wow, like so proud of yourself for setting yourself up so you have a stress-free business.
Yeah.
Did that help?
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's these little shifts, but yeah, that's the process. So way to go. Anyone want to share just an aha before we hop off? Jolene, you put your hand up, I felt like.
Okay, fine. The three of us were laughing, and and Amanda brought it up. We're all saying we're perfectionists. And so it was like, well, why aren't we making that a good thing? And what Brooke said was the power is in the details. So we are very detail oriented. That's a good thing in what we do, and we can make it a good thing. So that was just kind of fun. So
Isn't it amazing how good we are at making ourselves wrong, even at paying attention to details? We're like something's wrong with me again. But actually, it's okay. Like, what if we keep telling ourselves, like, it's okay, you're doing great, you know? Keep telling yourself that. So it was really beautiful to see. And I'm glad, Christian, so glad you could be on. It was so nice to have you. But it's just to see this process. Like, it is tricky. Laura had her kind of the how as the what. And so just notice that, like, if your how is, your what is, I want to like build out my business plan, right? Then why? Because this, how, do this, this, and this, and this. It can, it could be like, what do you actually want? Do you really want a business plan? Or do you want a business that works? Do you want a business that's got structure and systems so that you can feel at ease around it? Do you want, like, we don't actually want a business plan, right? Like, we want the benefits of the business plan. What is the benefit of the business plan? So kind of just that's a fine shift that can get you to create more powerfully. Christian, do you have any just like reflections or questions or comments from the class today?
Um, I just, when we were in the room, I told Paige this is really helpful for me. I just kind of asking like, what, is this something you do every day? Is there something you work up to? And it's it's been enlightening for me because I don't have a process like this. Like a lot of days I wake up and I'm like, okay, what am I doing today? And I don't have clarity on what I'm doing. So this is like something I could really use every day. It's just for little baby steps of like, okay, what do I need to accomplish today? What is it that I want to do? And yeah, so it's interesting to see us go through that process, and it's really going to be helpful for me.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up because it's like we're looking at it on a micro level of just what do I want to do with my day. But this is an incredibly powerful process for like, what do you want to build in your life? Like, I want to build a multi-million dollar company. Oh, why? Well, because I want to be rich and buy a Lamborghini. Okay, like getting that clarity and then going all the way through to like, how do I know I'm successful? I'm sitting in a Lamborghini and I kind of feel empty, right? Like, or I'm able to build the orphanage that I really wanted to build when I was living in Africa. Like, there's all sorts of reasons, but if we can get clear and we can really go through the how, then each day we can come up with more hows, but that vision is what creates powerful, powerful creations that we end up feeling fulfilled with at the end. And that's really what so many people are creating. They do the first two. What do I want? I want to build a multi-million dollar company. Why? Because I want to be super rich. Awesome. Okay. And then they just start going and they build it and then they get to that point and it like, like we just with Bobby's company, it was just like I just run, and then eventually stuff starts hitting the fan and we don't have the company that we were like, actually we didn't really begin with the end in mind, right? So it's from the biggest things to the very smallest things of like, I want to show up at this party. What do I want? Well, I want to feel connected to these three people. Okay, why do I want that? Because I'm actually going to see them after and it makes sense and like it matters to me that I build those relationships. So I'm actually going to focus on those relationships. How? Okay, so I'm going to make sure that I have at least 20 minutes with each one of those people. And I'm going to make sure I'm just gonna actually, now that I think of it, I think I'm going to go and get them a drink while I'm there. And I'm going to ask this one to dance or like you actually start to, and you would never do that just walking into a party with no intention. And so we can create the lives that we love. That's the whole point, and it's just so powerful. So yeah, love you guys so much. I sent an email with the packing list and everything for the retreat, and we have the schedule set up, and just respond to the email and tell me what time you're arriving and what time you're leaving. That would be super helpful. So otherwise, Christian's gonna set up the sound bed and